I recently took my engine from this to this. And of course, when you go to meets, people are always checking out your engine. So here's how you can take your engine bay to the next level with a full engine dress-up kit from Perrin. I've got a total of 6 different pieces I'm going to be walking through how I installed. So let's get everything unboxed and let's dive into it. First up is the engine pulley cover. On the left side, there is a 10mm bolt that needs to come out, and there's a rubber grommet on the right side that you'll just pop out. There's 2 spacers that come with the kit. You'll put the long one on the left side and the short one on the right. The left spacer should have the flat side down and the notchy side up. Place the cover down gently so you don't knock off the spacers. It's easiest to install the long hex bolt on the left side first because that one will just screw right in, replacing the bolt you pulled off earlier. On the right side, you'll slide the bolt in and you actually have to install a nut from underneath. You'll put the washer and the nut in your hand and you'll want to get up underneath it and hand thread it. Using a 10mm socket with an extension, you'll tighten it all down. For the battery tie down, I ended up just taking the whole thing out and I used a 10mm socket with an extension to get it off. There's 2 silver J-hooks on each side that are attached to the body. You'll pull those out with it. You'll slide the new battery tie down in and you'll install it the same way you took it out. Just make sure when you tighten it down evenly so it's not leaning one way or the other. As I'm installing all these pieces, I realize that all the fluid caps are yellow and I'm not really digging them. Let me know what color I should swap them to in the comments below. Moving on to the Fender Shrouds, there is a pop clip on the front of each side that's facing up and there's a pop clip on the back facing the engine. Once they're both popped out, you can remove the OEM Fender cover. And since you have it all exposed, it's a good time to get it all cleaned up. Now, these are probably the hardest to install because you have to do rivets and it's a pain, but here's how it's done. There's 3 pieces to this. There's the rivet tool, the rivet bolt, and the rivet. You'll use a special rivet bolt through the rivet tool, and then you'll screw the rivet on the bolt. These are going to install where the pop clips came out, so you'll place them down and you'll start tightening away. Now this is a process and it does take some time. It's also helpful if you wear gloves because you're applying a lot of pressure over a long period of time and it will make your hands sore. Once the rivet is securely tightened, you'll unscrew the bolt that you had inside the rivet and you're all set. To get the shrouds into place, you'll put them upside down and roll them in towards the engine. You'll install the 2 bolts that come with the kit and you're all done. Now I do wish the bolts that came with the kit weren't silver, so I'm probably going to pull them out and spray paint them black. Also, when you're installing the bolts, make sure you do it by hand to make sure there's no cross threading at the beginning. Otherwise, if you cross thread it and it's hard to get out, you're going to spin out the rivet. Once everything's hand threaded, you're just going to tighten it down snug and you're good to go. Moving on to the intercooler cover. The cover is extremely easy to install, so you'll pull off some tape on the back of the bolt and you'll just set it down straight on top. Make sure you loosen the bolts on each side of this cover. It attaches by clamping down a bottom bracket to the side of the intercooler that extends out. For the left side, you use a 10mm socket, and on the right side, you need a 10mm wrench because you can't fit a socket underneath. Unclamp the hoses from the side of the intercooler and pull them back to get more space to tighten it down. With the Perrin oil cap cover, there's 2 ways to install this. Once the oil cap is off, remove the OEM rubber gasket from the cap. You'll take that rubber gasket and you'll place it flat side down into the oil cap. You'll know it's screwed on correctly if the logo is straight to the front of the car, and right now it's crooked. This takes us to the second way to install it. So you remove the gasket and what's included is a small rubber O-ring which you'll place inside, and then you'll put the OEM rubber gasket back into place flat side down, and once you tighten, it should line up straight with the car. And that brings us to our last and final piece, the front radiator shroud. The cover comes in 2 pieces, but make sure you use the right half for one side because one is for a stock intake and one for an aftermarket. Have a friend hold one side so it's easier to put together. Once you have it put together, you remove this rubber liner from the top of the hood. It just pops right out. Next, you're going to unclamp the coolant reservoir right in the front. Then you have to remove this front trim piece on the front bumper. So there's several pop clips you have to pull off, and there's also plenty of 10mm bolts. So of course, you need your 10mm socket and ratchet. Once you've got all the pop clips and bolts removed, you can remove this trim piece. With that front trim piece removed, it's the perfect time to get all that dirt and grime removed using Ammo Emergency Spit Shine. There's 2 more bolts you have to loosen, so on the inside of the radiator, on the left of the cap there's 1, and on the right side of it there's 2. You'll loosen them, but don't remove them. I found it easy to loosen it with that socket wrench and then do it by hand to finish it to get enough space. Before installing, there is a rubber trim piece you're going to install on the intake side, and you're going to want to really push this. I noticed that just pushing a little bit makes it seem like it's on, but you have to really push it in. Also in the kit is a set of foam that you're going to want to measure and cut the sides. It's going to go on both sides of the radiator shroud. So I got this cheap plastic knife on Amazon and it cuts everything amazingly well. I'll be sure to put a link to these knives down in the description below. Once you've got one side cut to size, you'll simply remove the paper backing and align it into place and push it down. The adhesive is very strong, so once you push it down, it's pretty much set. Then you'll do the same thing for the other side. Measure it, slice it, remove the paper backing, place it down into place, give it a little push, and it's set. Now double check the radiator hose coming out the middle. This has to be facing upwards in order for the radiator shroud to be put into place. So when you're installing it into place, the radiator shroud goes in between the front plastic of the bumper and the metal chest. And on the front, you'll see those two slots. That's going to slide into the bolts that you loosened up earlier. It's going to go in between the plastic. Once you've got everything perfectly aligned, when you go to tighten the bolts back down, you're going to want to push down the front side to make sure it's down in place. So you'll tighten down one side and you do the same thing for the other side. Push it down and tighten it until it's nice and snug. Once those are tightened, you can snap that radiator reservoir back into place. Then you're going to reinstall the plastic trim piece. You're going to put all the pop clips back in, and of course bring back out that 10mm socket in your ratchet and tighten everything down, and that's it. You've got everything installed, making your engine bay look flawless. When it's all said and done, you just want to sit back and check out all the work you've done, and this is what it looks like. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you don't miss the next video. Overall, installing all these pieces took no more than a few hours, and you don't need that many tools to do it. They also have several colors available. Definitely find something that'll suit your taste, and of course, when you pop open that hood at that meet, it's going to draw attention and you're going to feel really confident about it.